Female Cenobite origins explained. She doesn't speak often. She has no official name. But for horror fans, the image of the female Cenobite, with her exposed throat and cold, clinical demeanor, is unforgettable. Overshadowed by the infamous Pinhead, this character still commands a powerful presence in the Hellraiser universe. Known to some as Sister Nikoletta, and more recently referred to by fans and expanded lore as Fallen, the female Cenobite is a key figure in Clive Barker's dark mythology. But who is she before the leather, the hooks, and the eternal servitude to Leviathan? Today, we explore the dark and fascinating origins of the female Cenobite, from her early life as a nun to her transformation into a priestess of sin and suffering.
The Cenobites gave me an experience beyond the limits. Pain and pleasure.
Birth of a Cenobite, from book to screen. The female Cenobite was first introduced in Clive Barker's 1986 novella, The Hellbound Heart. The book describes the Cenobites as sexless, ageless beings devoted to the pursuit of experience through pain and pleasure. Among them was one described as having a light, girlish voice, arguably the literary predecessor to the female Cenobite. When Hellraiser was adapted to film in 1987, Barker translated that character into a visual form. Actress Grace Kirby portrayed the original female Cenobite. Her design was stark and horrifying: pale skin, dark eyeshadow, and a deep surgical wound at the throat held open by wires. She was never named, credited simply as Female Cenobite, yet she quickly became a cult figure among horror fans. With her calm, unsettling demeanor and few chilling lines, she exuded menace and mystique. Sister Nikoletta, the human behind the horror. While the original Hellraiser films didn't reveal much about her past, later expanded lore, particularly from the comics, began to fill in the gaps. According to these sources, before she became a Cenobite, the female Cenobite was known as Sister Nikoletta. Nikoletta was a nun, deeply entrenched in religious life, but unlike her peers, she harbored a dangerous curiosity. She was fascinated by the nature of sin, not to avoid it, but to understand it. This fascination grew over time, becoming a private obsession. Despite her spiritual vows, she was consumed by the very things she was meant to resist. Thoughts of lust, power, and transgression filled her mind. She began to question not only morality, but the nature of divine punishment itself. Could pain be holy? Could suffering be salvation? The temptation, lament configuration, and the stranger. One day, a wandering man came to the convent, seeking shelter. He sensed something within her, something hidden behind the habit and rosary beads. A hunger, a willingness, a soul no longer committed to purity. This man, mysterious and unnamed in most accounts, offered her a strange gift, a puzzle box, the lament configuration. Nikoletta couldn't resist. The box called to her. Its polished surfaces and cryptic mechanisms seemed to speak to her private thoughts. It didn't take long before she solved it. The moment she did, reality shifted. Chains lashed out. The air twisted. A gateway opened, and from that dark portal came a Cenobite known as Grillard, one of Leviathan's many emissaries. Grillard did not speak. He simply took her. The descent. Sin turned sacred. Nikoletta was dragged into the labyrinth, the realm ruled by the godlike entity Leviathan. There, all earthly laws ceased to matter. Pleasure became pain. Pain became transcendence. And morality dissolved into meaningless noise. In that realm, Nikoletta did not scream. She smiled. She embraced the tearing of her flesh, the breaking of her bones, the overwhelming ecstasy of transformation. In the twisted geometry of the labyrinth, she finally found what she'd always longed for: meaning through sin. Her transformation was not a punishment. It was an ascension. Leviathan didn't simply make her a Cenobite. He elevated her. Her throat was opened, but her voice became clearer than ever. Her body was altered, but her purpose was fulfilled. She became a priestess of pain, a scholar of torment, and a vessel for Leviathan's judgment. A new name, Fallen. Though the films never gave her a proper name, expanded lore and fan consensus have given her several. She's been called Deep Throat, a nickname that stuck due to her open throat wound and soft-spoken demeanor. However, that name has fallen out of favor in recent years due to its inappropriate connotations. More recently, she's been referred to simply as Fallen. The name fits. It speaks not only to her descent into hell but to her voluntary fall, a rejection of sanctity in favor of experience. Unlike other Cenobites who may have been tricked or manipulated, Nikoletta chose this path. She sought out the forbidden and embraced it fully. Fallen is not just a name, it's a statement of identity. On-screen evolution. Grace Kirby and Barbie Wilde. The female Cenobite first appeared in Hellraiser, 1987, portrayed by Grace Kirby. Her version was minimalist, mysterious, regal, and cold. She had only a few lines but exuded quiet authority. In Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, 1988, the role was recast. Barbie Wilde took over, bringing a more sinister and articulate version of the character to life. Her makeup was more refined, her performance sharper, and her few lines were delivered with chilling clarity. Though she never had a major narrative arc in the films, her presence left a deep impression. She was often seen standing close to Pinhead, suggesting a role as second-in-command or confidant. She didn't need words to assert her importance. Her gaze was enough. The philosophical Cenobite. What sets the female Cenobite apart from others is not her appearance, but her intellect. While characters like the Chatterer are bestial and Butterball is silent and gluttonous, the female Cenobite is reflective. Her demeanor suggests understanding, a grasp of metaphysical truths and moral paradoxes that mortals can barely comprehend. She speaks of choice. She hints at consent. She doesn't simply punish, she judges. This has led many to consider her the true philosopher of the Cenobites. She isn't there just to carry out Leviathan's will. She believes in it, and perhaps, in her own mind, she's more enlightened now than she ever was in the convent. Comic appearances and expanded lore. The female Cenobite appears in numerous Hellraiser comics and graphic novels, where her backstory is more fully explored. In several stories, she has flashbacks to her time as Sister Nikoletta, even showing moments of regret, or at least reflection. She also occasionally disputes orders, showing that she has autonomy and opinion, rare traits among Cenobites. Some arcs portray her growing distant from Leviathan, while others suggest she might one day challenge his dominion altogether. These storylines highlight her complexity, not just a torturer, but a seeker of truth in a broken reality. The decline and legacy. Sadly, after Hellbound, the female Cenobite faded from the film series. None of the later sequels feature her meaningfully, and the franchise shifted focus to new characters with less depth. Despite this, she remains a fan favorite. She's a popular subject in cosplay, fan art, and horror analysis. For many, she represents the sophistication of the original films, a character who terrified not through violence, but through her calm, unwavering belief in a darker order. She doesn't scream, she doesn't run, she simply watches. And when she speaks, you listen. Final thoughts. Desire, damnation, and divinity. The female Cenobite, Sister Nikoletta, Fallen, is one of horror's most intriguing enigmas. She was once a nun, sworn to serve God, but her curiosity led her elsewhere. She sought out sin not to defeat it, but to experience it. And in doing so, she became something more. Not a demon, not a victim, but a priestess of pain, a philosopher of flesh, an agent of a divine horror where morality no longer matters. Her story is not just about transformation. It's about willing transformation, about embracing the forbidden, diving into the void, and finding divinity in damnation.
She fell.
But maybe in her own eyes, she finally rose.